Welcome back. We are working on the R32 GTR today, and our PRP oil blank off plate has arrived. So there's a couple of things that I noticed compared to the Bullet engineering one. Is the Bullet engineering one is much more chunkier, and it actually has a lot more meat around the outside edge. So I'm a little bit concerned. If you look there where the sealant used to run, there's not much meat actually going onto the flat surface of the block. So what I'm going to do with my little texter here is draw a line around it. So I've tapped that on in position. I'm going to draw a line around it and then carefully put Celastic where the marker pen is. So we use the pen to sort of mark it. It'd be interesting to get that PRP blanking plate off just to see how much meat we're actually going to have. We normally do it with the sump off. So the sump's off, we just bolt this on, we put the seal on. We need to make sure that is center around the crank so we can get proper sealing, I guess. If that's out of position at all, it won't work. And the other thing is when we go to push it on, we're going to push all the sealant off the bottom. We really need the sump off so it squashes up and we get a nice sealing edge. So I haven't worked out exactly how we're going to do that yet, but we have to, because I'm not pulling that sump back off. Like that. Now, you can clearly see the difference here. All this spot is sealed. So you can run sealant along here and here, whereas this one, it's open in here, which is in this area. So as long as we can get sealant on there, I think we'll be right. So sealant around there is just a bit of added extra. There's nothing, there is oil in that. There's not oil in this one over here. This one over here hasn't been drilled. Interesting. Got the oil blank off plate on really well. PRP do an awesome blank off plate. It actually slid on really well. I was worried about being able to push it on correctly with the seal and having the sump on, but it worked out super. One little thing that I just want to let you guys be aware of, when I got this oil blank off plate, I forgot that this has actually got 2 J-size mains on the crank. So it's a Cali's 35mm crank, it's an oversized crank. But that seal, that then makes that seal smaller. So the seal that comes with the PRP blank off plate, we have to just put on the shelf and then get ourselves a 7mm by 4mm. It's a really thin lip seal. We've got a good amount of sealant across here. It sort of just went on beautifully. We've got the trigger put on. What I am waiting for is, so this is our crank gear, our normal one. This is the PRP one, which has the trigger gear on it, which will go to this Motec sensor. So that'll slide on there like that. The only problem is, again, we've got a bigger crank. It's 35mm. As soon as this comes, it's in the mail. We can put our belt back on, time it all up, get our ATI pulley on, and we're sort of underway. Okay, so another obstacle that I've had to jump over or climb through myself has been the sway bar. So I think I told you on the last episode, the sway bar actually hits on the oil pump and the sump itself. So it's what these guys did is put it in the best place possible. So they had to make a sacrifice somewhere. So what I actually did is, no one could sort of help me out with what to do. So I sort of come up with these brackets that we tigged up. So these brackets essentially just drop the sway bar down exactly 1 bolt hole. So 10mm alley plate. And essentially what we've done is just move the sway bar forward and down, and now we've got really good clearance there. So all I have to do now to finish this off is drill this hole here and put a mounting bolt through it. I'm happy with these. I might get them anodized or something, but all in all, they don't look too bad. Now, the other thing that we did was with the sway bar links, because we've moved the sway bar forward and down. So these are actually R32 GTR sway bar links. They're really good and they fit in 32 and 33. So I highly recommend anyone that's got a factory setup. R34 sway bar links are the go. They're aluminium. I had to talk to the guys at Whiteline and we come up with this adjustable sway bar link, and it's actually a really durable sway bar link. It's probably a little bit better than the actual old Nissan one. So you can sort of see the length there, it's a little bit bigger, but look at the size of the actual joint of the sway bar link. This one's much better. So I think we're gonna have a really good feel in the front of this car. I'm also removing the HKS coilovers, not because they're bad or anything like that, but I've actually got a set of MCA Reds, which are sort of top tier in the suspension, and they've got a lot of adjustment. So with this car now making a lot more horsepower, we're gonna put the MCA Reds back in. I've spoken to those guys who's given us some settings. If those settings don't work, we can get them revalved. The HKS ones are beautiful for like a 400 kilowatt stock car. So we'll hold on to them because they are gorgeous coilovers, but the MCA ones will look good as well. I'm actually gonna bump up the springs in the wastegates too, while I can get to them. I think at the moment it's got 19 PSI. We might put like 22 or something, I don't know. Bump them up a bit so we can make some good power. Okay, let's do some work. So we're gonna go with 21 PSI. So we've got pink 7 and red 14. So pink and red. Put these back up in. So we've got both wastegates on now, and they have got 21 PSI springs in them, which I'm very happy with. It's all about when you start running higher horsepower engines with big boost, you've got to keep these wastegates shut. So with the extra springs in there, I think it should help. And the MAC valve can obviously do the rest of it, add PSI or do whatever they do. I'm pretty sure what happens is the pressure from the boost actually goes in and applies pressure on the spring, so not let it open. So fun tech tip. Hell yeah, we have our PRP crank gear. So luckily we didn't put the motor up in yesterday because this turned up today and it's gonna make our life so much easier. And it spins straight on perfectly and freely sometimes. There we go, look at that. Can't ask for better than that. This is cool because it's not your generic way of putting a gear at the back of the crank and then running a sensor on the bottom or side. What they've actually done is they've made the crank gear or the timing belt gear a part of, that's our OG one. So these guys have actually made one big crank gear wheel and trigger wheel. So it's cool. And then the ATI pulley just goes on after it. Everything is looking pretty neat now with the PRP trigger kit, the PRP block off plate. We got this cool trigger wheel at the sump. Everything's looking really cool. So we do have one small issue, and that's the keyway. It's a little bit too tall. So it slides in perfectly, no issues, and it actually slides in the gear while it's out, no worries at all. But it's just a slightly too tall and it's squashing up in there. What we might do is actually chuck this on the linisher and just bring it down a fraction. Probably going to be hotter than your tank on a sweaty day. We're in North Queensland and it is hot as hell. So let's give this a go. Oh shit, yep, still hot. So let's see how we go. Whew, like a glove. Like a glove! Sweet. Been waiting for that for ages, so that's awesome. And then this just goes straight on. Bit of molly on your bolt, just a little bit, not too much. Mainly on this surface here, so it can turn. Then we wind it in nice and slow, making sure nothing picks up. Let's do this nice and slow to make sure we're not picking up anything or forgetting anything, because otherwise you've got to pull it back off again.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
And 100% I fucked up. I forgot the belt. There was too many people watching and I was rushing. But anyway, all good. I popped it back off, sat the belt on, and it actually gave me a good time to clean everything up because I pulled all the tensioner and the idler and the adjuster kit that makes you be able to run a twin cam RB26 head on an RB30 block. So I'm going to time this engine up now. I think I've found with using the PRP oil blank plate, the top dead center mark is now spot on. When I used the Billet engineering plate, top dead center was about 10 degrees off top dead center. So be careful of that, because that can catch you out big time. You put ignition timing out or the engine timing. But we are going to time this up and try and get this engine back up in tonight. It's super. This is exactly what happens. 1 minute I'm putting on the timing belt, next minute we're giving the whole thing a bath. So all I use is dishwashing liquid and a scourer pad and it comes up awesome. This tiny little spring, be very careful with this. I think only Billet Engineering do this for their RB30 timing belt setup on their billet blocks. So there's a tiny little spring and it sort of just keeps tension on the belt. The actual tensioner is this one. It's sort of like a dual tensioner. So you've got your co-eccentric tensioner there and then a little spring tensioner which just keeps a bit of tension on the belt. So okay, cool. That's all on. You can sort of see this, how it swings on the little spring. Spring goes on there. It just bounces back and forward, holds a bit of tension on it. Time to get the water pump pulley to cover up that horrible pulley. So we'll get none other than the ATI pulleys. I think I've got 2 left. Oh yeah. So I'm just winding it over to top dead center so we can see our TDC mark there. Take a spark plug out, just set it all at the top there and then carefully slide that down on top of your piston. And then you watch it go down. And yeah, do a full revolution. Highly recommend checking your keyway straight up and down to the cams. Remembering that the motor sits on an angle in an RB26. So like I've had guys call me up before where they've got the crank, the keyway needs to point up and down or 90 to the engine, which is straight up towards the head. And if you look at the engine on an RB26, you can see it clear, in a GTR, sorry, it clearly leans that way. So your keyway up and down is more like, well, it's even further than that. You see, that's straight up and down, but it's actually up and down towards these. And then your markers on the side, we've got that pointer there, thanks to PRP with their top dead center mark, and then their timing cam gear marks there. It's pretty cool. So she's timed up and ready to go. I'll just give it one more revolution to make sure it's right. Then I'll get my mate Timmy here and we might get this thing bolted up tonight. We have one motor back in said GTR and it's looking awesome. So I've had an absolute cracker of an afternoon trying to get everything done, and I'll give you a quick update of changes and where we're at. I have pulled out our HKS coilovers. So what I did have is a set of brand new MCA Reds. They definitely don't look as good as the HKS Bling Boys, but comfort wise and control and adjustment and the rest of things we're gonna do with this car, we need that suspension in there. So I'm gonna give the MCA Reds a go. Check out the height of the motor. Now, as everyone knows, if you run an RB30 block in a R32 GTR or 33 or 34, you need to lower the subframe to get the bonnet to shut. Because we can run their billet valve covers, look at all the clearance we get. I haven't completely bolted it up yet, but the motor itself just looks better sitting back up in factory position. Like it really does. It looks so much cooler, back up higher, It covers a lot of stuff down the back, and yeah, it's just overall, I'm really happy that we can do that. It does look really close to our coil packs though. Biggest mistake I made though, I spent 10 minutes trying to hook up the steering, forgetting that there was a adapter in there for the height difference. So when you put a height difference, you get a GK Tech steering thing that goes on right there, and I couldn't get the steering on. So I've just unbolted that, and I'm looking for the factory neoprene or the solid one. I'd really like to put a solid one back in, but that's where we're at. So check that out. Now these are the bushes we need. So you don't need this stuff when you run the GK Tech spacer. It applies everything, but when you go, see, that's a solid one there. That feels much better, trust me. This is the most this thing has been back together in probably, I don't know, 10 weeks now, 12 weeks probably. So I worked through till, pretty much worked through till 2 o'clock last night just to get it done because I wanted to give it a wash. But wait till you see this thing, it's pretty sweet. Check it out. Look at this. It has come up just magic. I can't wait to get the Hypertune manifold on it. That'll really sort of pull things into place. But the grey with the grey is spot on. Garrett Turbo will probably sit in about that position. We're just gonna have to cut it up around second tee. I'm hoping worst case maybe the first tee, but we'll see. So it has to be cut off because it goes straight into the AC pipe. And the best thing is we got our table back. So we now have our table here to start the 33, or we've already started the 33, to get the 33 engine onto. So pretty pumped on that. Boot is looking pretty sick. Got to get the bottle filled today. Got to get that wired in, tape up that PDM wiring, plumb this up. I haven't plumbed that up yet, that's a big one, but I just want to get it outside and give it a wash now. So we're just going to put all the hot side on so the exhaust isn't dragging, then we'll go for a wash. Righto, it's time to get some wheels finally. So got our Nankang AR1s, awesome tyre. That's a 275 on a 18 plus 22 I think. Oh, plus 22, but I run the 10mm spacer. So let's get the wheels on. Fucking pumped on this thing, it looks insane. Dude, it's been so long I don't even know where the wheel nuts are. Oh, the time has finally come. Because it's like the crank rotates the same. Okay, so that's it, it's back together. I can't thank all my family, friends and sponsors enough. The support that I get from Zolly Motorsport and Anthony at Dartone Racing, it's awesome. Thank you much, both of you guys. You spent a lot of time on the phone. That's it for the 32 now. We're gonna leave it, thank God, woohoo. And we are gonna get stuck into the 33 400R build next week. Stay tuned. It's gonna be a sick year. Fuck. Is this right or not? We're gonna see some more dancing.
Yeah, woo, woo, woo. Go Josh, go Josh, go Josh, go Josh.